Hello there and welcome. This video explains how to effectively use Microsoft Excel's data features. We'll start today with one of the most helpful data features called Format as Table. We'll also look at standalone sorting and filtering, and finally, a great tool to remove duplicate records from your list. When it comes to working with data in Excel, like a list like we have right in front of us, one of the most important things you can know about, one of the best tools, is actually something called Format as Table. So let's take a look at using that. I'm going to go ahead and click inside of this list. Again, just a simple list of employees, some good information there. And what I want to do is on the Home tab of the ribbon, come up here and click on Format as Table. So I'm going to give that a click. It'll give me some formatting attributes. And maybe you've looked at this in the past and said, oh, okay, great, it's going to give me formatting. But that is just the tip of the iceberg. It actually gives you a lot more than just formatting. So what you'll do is you'll scroll around and pick one of the formatting options that you see. So I'm going to go ahead and click on one, and you can always change that a little bit later on as well. So it's just asking for a little bit of confirmation here. What's the range of the table, and does my table have headers? So my table does have headers. You can see that they're in row 2, and I'm just going to scroll down and make sure that these dotted lines actually go around all of the data, and they do. So I can click on OK. And my list here is now got the formatting, but it's also got a lot more as well. So let's sort of break that down for us. So we have along the top here, my header row is definitely, more visible, more pronounced. Next to each of my column headers there, next to each cell in that row 2, I have a drop down. So let's take a look at what's going on in that drop down. As I click it, what it will give me the ability to do is to sort all of the rows in my list, and I can also filter. So we'll do a bit of that in a minute after our tour. I'm going to scroll down a little bit and show you, as I do scroll down, the column headers will stay at the top there, right? So that is not something that normally happens. As a matter of fact, I'm going to flip over to another list that we'll work with later on and scroll down, and you'll notice as soon as you start scrolling, you lose the column headers, right? But if you've done the Format as Table, if you've applied that option, then as you scroll through, those column headers will remain in sight, so you always know what column you're working in and are less likely, hopefully, to make a mistake with data entry. In addition to that, just one other thing is if I am not in my list, my cursor's out here, and I scroll down, I am not going to get those headers, at the top of my list. It's only taking effect while your cursor's inside of your list. So if you have different results there, that's probably it. Just click inside your list and those column headers will return. Okay. Also, at the bottom of the list, so just scrolling quickly down to the bottom of the list, there is a little end of list marker in the bottom right. And it's just let me just zoom in so you can sort of see that. In the bottom right there of the very last cell of the table just indicates where the list ends, right? And that's there because I told it what range my list was in. So you can always add on to this, and you can always, reduce the size of it. And the way that you would do that basically is just clicking and dragging that little end of list indicator to let Excel know where it all ends, okay? One last thing in terms of the tour of this, and then we'll get into some functionality, is that when your cursor is in this list, you're going to have some contextual tools up here on the ribbon. So let's look on the top right of the screen. Underneath Table Tools, we have a new tab here. It's the Design tab. And what we're going to be able to use this for is maybe to add or remove elements. So these checkboxes will indicate what is included in your Format as Table sort of layout. And then you can always change the table styles. So if you wanted to go with another color scheme, for example, this gallery can expand it, and you'll see all of the same options as we saw originally, and you can always change that if you needed to. Once again, if you are not in your list, that contextual tab will not be displayed on the right side of the ribbon. It's only when your cursor is inside the list that you'll have access to those tools. Now let's look a little deeper into this functionality that this tool has given us. So what we can use it for is to quickly filter and sort our lists, right? So right now I'm going to zoom out a little bit, and we will take a look, for example, at sorting the list. A lot of times you want to take your list sorted alphabetically by last name, right? So there is the drop down next to the last name column header. I just give that a click, and I can tell it to sort ascending or descending, and it's going to sort all of the records in order according to whichever I choose. I'll do sort A to Z alphabetically, and there are my results. If you wanted, for example, to sort maybe salary wise, like any of these columns, you can sort your list by any of these columns basically. So dates, maybe you want to sort of organize this by the date of hire. I'm going to use that drop down. The word, the label that you see here, the wording is a little bit different, but of course the icon is the same, either ascending or descending. With your date fields, it'll say oldest to newest or newest to oldest. Okay, and again, it's sorting the whole list, not just this column. That would not work out very well for us. And of course, any numeric field, smallest to largest, you can go ahead and do that. Maybe we'll do largest to smallest in this case, and we'll see the folks with the higher salary towards the top of the list. So sorting is something we need to do very frequently with our list, and once you apply this format as table, you have the ability to do that through that drop down. Another thing that you're able to do is to filter the list. So right now the list I have goes down to row 82. And if we minus out a couple of those headers there and the header rows at the top, we have about 80 employees, right? So if you wanted to focus on a subset of those employees based on their division or their city or anything for that matter, that's where you're going to use those drop downs as well. So for example, if it's a text sort of field that you're in, you can use that drop down. I'm going to do this on division. I'm going to use the drop down. Currently, I'm seeing everything. If I wanted to just focus on, for example, technology, I can turn off, select all, and just turn on technology, click on OK, and then my list is filtered. So a couple of things that you'll notice is the row buttons on the left side change to blue. They are also have some gaps in them. So it goes from row 13 over here on the left to row 29. So we can tell that by those indicators, the blue text and the non-sequential numbers there let us know that I'm not seeing all of my records. Also in the bottom left, there's usually a little bit of an indicator as well. So right now it's telling me 31 of 80 records has been found. And as I scroll down, we'll see, I mean, that's a significant amount, but it is not all of them, right? If you want to change the filter, okay, you're done doing what you need to do with technology, great. You can tell that the list is filtered also by this little button. It's got a funnel in it as opposed to just the down arrow. I'm going to give that a click. And maybe now I want to focus on sales. So I'll flip that around, click on OK. And now I am seeing 20 in the bottom left. Again, it gives you a counter, 20 of 80 records. And as I scroll around, I can see that all I have here are my sales division folks. Okay. To bring it all back so that you're seeing all the records, then you can just go back into that filter. You can do a select all. You can also use this option, which will appear on the menu if you've filtered your list. It's called Clear Filter, and then you get all your records back. Okay. With a numeric filter, it's possible to use the drop down and just say, oh, you know what? I just want to see the people that make a certain amount. So I'm just going to turn off Select All and choose a specific amount. This list would be the unique values. in that column currently. So if I say, show me all the people that make 45,000, I click on OK, then that's what I'm going to be able to see. But, and that's helpful, but a lot of times you want to see a range. So I can either clear that or select all, and if I wanted to at this point do that sort of range, I can do that. So let me, instead of selecting a specific value, let me choose number filters, right? And there's all of these sort of things that you can say, the ones that equal something, doesn't equal, greater than, between, right? So if I want to see the people that make more than 45,000, I certainly can. So I'm going to do greater than 45,000. And I'm just typing that in there, 45, 3 zeros. I don't need to put the dollar signs or the commas, only decimals if I need it. But in this case, I think all of them are whole numbers here. So I'll click on OK, and then it will show me, I'm just going to scroll up and down and show you, it's not going to show me the people that make 45, but only those that make more than 45,000. So we're seeing that there. I'm going to go in and clear that filter and just do one more with you if you want a between scenario, right? So people that make between 30 and, let me just scroll down and see, between 30 and 50, let's say. I can go ahead and use that drop down number filter, maybe choosing the between option and saying greater than 30. Again, you don't need to type in commas, you don't need to type in dollar signs, and only decimals if they are part of your criteria there. So I'm going to say is greater than or equal to 30,000 and is less than or equal to 50,000. And I can go ahead and click on OK, and that's the between condition where it's showing me just the ones that fall there in the middle, right? Actually, there is one more. Let me clear that. There is one more sort of set of options that I wanted to take a look at with your numeric fields. In number filters, just take a look, for example, at your top 10. So I'm going to choose that, and the dialog box is simple and straightforward. It's asking you what you would like to see, and in the drop down, although this feature is called top 10, you can show the tops, you can show the lower, right? So the tops would be the higher. It says top 10, but you could say, you know, maybe you just want the, you know, the top 5 or whatever the case may be. And there's your items, or you can also go on the percent. Click on OK. And what I'm seeing there, you know, I did ask for 5, but because there are multiple people that make the same amount, it's showing me all of them. Okay, that's why it's showing me a little bit more than 5. So just keep that in mind. It will show you all if there's a tie, so to speak, and the tie in this case is that they're all making 90,000. So clear all of that. And those are the, you know, essentially the way that you can work these drop downs. You can also use them in combination of one another. So let's just take a quick look at that. For example, I'm going to use the division drop down here, and I'm going to say, just show me the sales folks, right? We already talked about how you can do that. And then just keep in mind, if you want to sort this then by any of the fields, you certainly can. So I can say, okay, now I want to sort this list alphabetically by last name. So I'm using the drop down for the last name field over there in column A, sort A to Z. It's filtered, it's sorted, and you know, if you want to further sort of filter this, you certainly can. Keep that in mind. You could do a filter within a filter, and really the possibilities, again, are sort of endless here. So if I just wanted to look at my New York salespeople, I can certainly do that using the state drop down. I can say, just show me my New York salespeople. And if you want to see more than one state, then of course, or more than one value, just go back in there and select the multiple boxes, and you'll be able to see the results. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and clear those filters. So using the state drop down, I can clear that filter. I'm going to clear the division filter as well. And then let's just talk about when you have to add on to your list after you've applied this format as table option. It's going to scroll down. We mentioned at the bottom of the list, there is the end of list indicator, bottom right there. And as I hover over it, it sort of changes to a resizing arrow. If you need to add on to this list, you certainly can. I mean, that's just something that will, the size of the list could change at any point. So let's add another person here. And what's happening is the list is automatically extending. So as I add this next person, it automatically becomes part of, I'm just going to copy the rest of this so you don't have to watch me typing. The shortcut to control, to copy what's immediately above the cell that you're in is Control D. So if I just do Control D, it copies down what's above it. And then once again, you don't have to watch me type, which I'm sure is a painful experience. So here we have it. The list automatically extended down to row 83. Now, if for whatever reason it did not do that, or you added another column or another row, and it wasn't automatically extending, then like we showed earlier, you just need to click and drag the end of list indicator so that it does include all of your records. Okay. All right, one more thing to point out with this, one of my favorite features is that if you needed to add a column, you certainly could. Just, make sure that the format as list extends to it. But when it comes to adding formulas, you really do get a little bit of a boost here as well. Let's add a column here in column K that will multiply the salary by the bonus percentage, okay? Okay, so I added that over there in cell K2. I just typed in the bonus amount, right? Make that bigger so you can see it. And the formatting was automatically extended, and that's great. If you add a formula within your, formatted table here, you just have to type it in once and it will automatically apply it to all of the records here. So I'm just going to type in the formula once that multiplies the salary by the bonus, and what you're going to see is that it will copy it down automatically to all of the other employees in the list. So you get a little bit of a helping hand in that regard. So I'm just going to start off with the equal sign, right? Click on the salary, and you'll see it's sort of looks a little bit different than a formula that you may be building outside of the table, right? Normally it would say equal K3, but because you're inside of the, or excuse me, I3, because you're inside of this table, then the formulas will look a little bit different, but you build it the way you normally would. Symbol for multiplication is the star, and I click on cell J3 there, and it types in the column header instead of the actual cell. And I just need to press enter, and it will go ahead and apply that not only to the cell that I was in, but automatically copying it all the way down and applying it to every person in this list. Sure, I may want to format that, so let me go ahead and select those cells. I'm clicking in cell K3, and I want all of the cells in this list. So in this range here, I'm going to do Control-Shift-Down arrow. That selects them all, and then let me just go ahead and turn on this in the number group of the ribbon. I just want this to have the accounting number format, so I give that $ icon a click, and it will format this with $, commas, and 2 decimal places. I can resize that column if I need to, and there we have it. Okay, so when you have to add formulas into a list that's been formatted as a table, you get that extra little boost, which is always nice. When it comes time to remove this functionality and this formatting, there are a couple things that you'll need to do. First of all, click inside of your list so that you have access to the table tools. On the Design tab, you'll come into the table styles using the drop down and going all the way down to the bottom. Choose the clear option. what remains now is going to be the filter drop downs. So you're going to come up again to the Table Tools Design tab and turn off the filter option. And the last thing that you'll want to do, because this is still a list, you'll want to choose Convert to Range. So in that order is probably the best thing to do it in. Otherwise, you will have to take extra steps. So what we did was change the formatting. We went down and chose Clear. We turned off the filter with this checkbox. And then the last stage would be to convert to range. There is an element of confirmation there, so you'll just choose yes. And then it is back to being a standard list as it was when we first started. You don't have any of the functionality or formatting, but you already know how to put it back if you need it. It is, of course, possible to do a filter on your information or to sort your information without having to use the format as table function. So if you wanted to use a standalone sort or a standalone filter, you absolutely can. So let's just take a quick look at that. Again, make sure that you're in your list. So click somewhere inside of the list, and on the Home tab of the ribbon, on the right side, you have the ability to go in and do a sort or a filter. So if you wanted to maybe turn on those filters we talked about, you can just come down to the filter option. This gives you the drop downs, and we've already explored this sort of functionality. The drop down will give you the ability to sort your list or to filter it as well. So same sort of thing as we saw earlier, just without the extra functionality that indicates as you scroll through, the column headers will not stay at the top of the list. If you added a formula on here, it would not automatically copy down to the other records. Those are features and functions specific to the Format as Table tool that we looked at earlier. Just going to go ahead and clear these filters that we've applied here. And like we said, if you needed to sort, not a problem. Just use the appropriate column header, choose the appropriate sort, and it sorts the entire list for you. So if at any point you want to remove that, just go back in here. It's sort and filter. You can turn off the filter there. If all you want to do is a simple sort, you can click on a cell within the column that you want to sort by. So let's sort by salary here. I'm going to click in one of the cells in the salary column. I'm going to go into sort and filter, and I can choose sort smallest to largest, largest to smallest, just clicking the appropriate sort order, and it will sort all of my records that way. So you can even do a sort without having to, resort to the drop downs. Okay, so there we have it. If you should find that your list perhaps contains duplicate records, maybe data entry, copy, paste, it happens all the time, rather than you manually going through and removing your duplicates, you can use the Remove Duplicate feature. So let's take a look at this list. There are duplicates here. So for example, there are 2 of the same records for Mel Alboa, right? Just going to scroll down and show you a few others as well. There's one towards the bottom. Meg Smith is a duplicate. Oh, and we also have Sarah Ryan as a duplicate. So exact information in listed twice. So this throws off the count. This confuses data entry. So whenever you have a duplicate in your list, you are going to want to get rid of it as quickly as possible. So let's use this Remove Duplicate feature to make that happen. So again, just going to show you, we're starting in row 2. I end in row 83, and like I said, I have 3 duplicates in this list at least. So we're gonna click in the list, head over to the Data tab, and we have an option in here called Remove Duplicates. It's in the Data Tools section of that ribbon. You give it a click, and it wants to know where the information exists that could be duplicative. So because I want to make sure that it is only removing exact duplicates, I'm going to keep all of my boxes checked here. Okay, that way I can make sure that again I'm strictly eliminating exact duplicates. So I'm going to go ahead and click on OK. It'll let me know that it was able to remove those 3 duplicate records, and now I'm left with 78. I click on OK. I only have one now for Mel and Sarah, a little bit further down the list here. Sarah Ryan, and then a little bit further down with Meg Smith. Again, just the single instance of their records now. So remove the duplicates, helpful feature. Otherwise, you have to do that sort of thing manually. And that wraps up our session for today. Thanks, and we'll see you again soon.